Peace, HHDG. We are on another episode of HHDG Media, the podcast. And before we get into our guest for tonight, got to give a big shout out to our HHDG member, Rock Vader KB, as we released this week the best of 2K21. You can go check that out on our website, hhdgmedia.com. All of some of the best hip hop music that came out in 2021. And you can also go through our link tree and check out our merch, as well as our social media sites like IG, Spotify, Anchor. Shout out to everyone out there checking right now. We got our Facebook group out there. Peace to y'all. Hip Hop Discussion Group. We got the rest of our HHDG Media Inc. crew. Skelly Top, the Mayor, T. Smith, as well as myself. Now, before we get into tonight's guest, I gotta say both of them have a rich history in hip hop. Also in the ATL, Georgia area. You know, when listening to the 2022 album that came out last month, you know, you can see hip hop is in their blood, and they show how the elements are still relevant, even though we don't see it as much as we should in most of the music coming out. They put it on display. Came with the proper wordplay, came with the proper topics. Going to speak about growth in lyricism. You know, as you get older, you know, music reflects how your life is, trials and tribulations, highs and lows, and both of them have displayed that, you know, throughout their music and their career. But they definitely show that on this album called Reclamation. We got, coming out of Atlanta, who was shining on this album, BambuDeAsiatic.
What's going on?
Peace.
Peace.
And we got also coming out of Atlanta by way of North Carolina, who handled the production, Supastition.
Yo, peace, bro. How you doing?
Peace. Doing good.
Good.
Like that Crush Room t-shirt.
Thank you.
Actually, when that movie came out, my aunt that lives in the Bronx took me to the movie theater to go see that.
So I can't remember how I came into the movie. Like, I think it was, I don't know if it was on HBO at the time, or, you know, HBO back in the day was different back then, right? Or if I just caught it was on, like, you know, regular public television or something. I don't know what it was. I can't remember. All I know is that I was able to watch it. Maybe I had it on Betamax. And you know, stop telling my age.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've watched that movie 1,000 times, man.
Yeah.
Dope. Now, for those that don't know, this is not the first time that BambuDeAsiatic and Supastition have worked together. So give the fans and everyone watching right now, you know, a brief little history on how the two of you came to work together.
I mean, it all stemmed from back when, you know, when Collective Efforts was still active and doing a lot of shows. We brought, you know, I reached out to Super to come and, you know, rock a show with us here in Atlanta. And everything kind of stemmed from there. We just stayed in touch and, you know, communicated and talked, you know, even though you were in North Carolina still?
Yeah, I think I was in Charlotte at that time.
Yeah, he was still in Charlotte. And we just stayed in touch. And then, you know, he ended up coming to Atlanta. You know, he reached out before he moved down here, and he reached out. And, you know, so I was like, that's dope. You know, come down, check it out. You know, so came to the A. It is just natural. You know, we just ended up hanging out. We really wasn't focused on, like, let's do music together and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. We just hanging out, man. You know, just
right.
And then, and, you know, things just happened, you know, and, you know, he came through and rocked on the Good Life joint on the album I put out back in, I think it was 2015 or 16, the Family Matters album.
Yeah, we shot a dope video with that too.
Yeah, I
DJ
remember that
Pocket
video.
directed it. Yamin Somali was on that track. It was just a great day. You know what I'm saying? Just to be able to, the song was dope. And just to be able to shoot a video for it, and like I said, just everybody just hanging out, having a good time. You know, we even featured, you know, just family and friends in the video. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of a reflection of the type of, you know, friendship and relationship that we have. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. And with those names that you mentioned, I mean, if you look throughout both your careers, you know, those are people that I've seen those names quite often with your work.
Oh yeah. For me, you know, early in my career was, you know, when you first get in the game, you're trying to work with all the names and all that. And it's like now I feel like we have enough talent in our inner circle. We don't have to search around for big names. And if they are big names, you best believe they're homies. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, I always say you can find talent on any corner, but just finding good people is rare, you know.
And you know, when it comes to collabing too, man, I've always been the person like, you know, I don't want to just reach out and say, yo, jump with this song, and I don't really know you. We don't really hang out. We don't really know each other. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's an energy, right? There's a vibe that makes the song. It's like there's an energy that makes the vibe of the song, and I think that's important. You know, so you know, like you know, a lot of artists. And I'm not knocking anybody, and not saying it doesn't sound good. A lot of artists just have people on their album. It's like their solo album, but they got like features on every single song. And you know, I did that with Family Matters. That was a focus, and all those people that were on Family Matters, everybody that was on there doing joints with me were all family. Those are people that I respected. I grew up on the scene with. But yeah, you know, I think there's an energy, there's a vibe, and I think it comes out. You know, it came out to me. It came out of this album. You know, with the you know super production, kind of just brought a different level of MC-ness out of me, right? So.
So what was the very first track on this album that you know that you worked on?
It was Tokyo Drifting.
Tokyo Drifting,
yeah.
We so that came about because we used to do these beat sessions. Well, actually, we had an email thread with like myself, Bamboo, DJ Pocket, my man Praise, DR, you know, just John Doe, Eddie Meeks, and we would just find a sample and send it out each week, and just say, hey guys, if you're feeling it, just chop it up, and send the beat back at the end of the week. You can do whatever you want to do to it. And you know, one of those weeks, I sent my version over to everybody, and then Bamboo sent a version back of my beat with him rapping on it. So I'm like, whoa, he just broke all the rules, but it was so dope. You know, it was like, wow. And he was like, yo, I hijacked your beat, and and so I just started, I started just sending him more joints because he was inspired. I mean, he turned that joint around immediately. And that's like the type of people I like to work with, is like, you know, you give them some music and they turn around immediately. So I sent that over to him. He turned it around. He was like, yo, send me more. I'm hungry. And, you know, I had a lot in the stash, man. So I just kept sending them over, you know.
Now, were those the correct technique sessions that you're talking about? Or was that something previously?
The correct techniques was on the CE form. This is similar, same kind of format. Everybody just grabbed it and you know, flipped it your way. You know, and it was good because, you know, doing those sessions, you know, it helped. I know it helped my production. It helped me pay attention to things in my production that I really wasn't paying attention to before. Like, you know, the snares and the kicks and how the drum patterns are and how they sound. It's like I always paid attention to before, but I really didn't pay attention like I do now. So now I pay, it's like the importance of the drum sounds and, you know, the snare, you know, actually being in tune. You never think about the snare being in tune with anything, but it really does got to be in tune with everything else. How the kick and the bass has to be in tune. So when the bass and the kick hit at the same time, they're not fighting each other, you know, things like that.
Right.
There's a lot of things that I picked up in those sessions.
That's very true.
Now, the whole Atlanta collective of people that you work with, one of them being Senior Kaus, who we actually interviewed, I believe it was early last year, or it might have been 2020. But yeah, he's another one that you got a lot of history with, even before he was going by that name.
Yeah.
I mean, just tell us how that whole Atlanta collective is. It's organic to me, from everything that I've heard.
Yeah, you shouted him out on the album too. You gave him like a subliminal shout out too.
Yeah. So he used to be in a group with it was called Vintage Imperial.
Mm-hmm.
I shouted him out in the second verse of Return of the Asiatic. I was like, vintage if you're nasty. But it was I've known him for a long, long time. Like the whole underground hip hop scene in Atlanta really, when I came into it like 94, 95, right? So I think I went into Kaus somewhere in that time. He was only like 15 or 16, showing up and sneaking in the club, and it's just like, he was a hustler, man. He was, always respected his grind. He always had this grind. I couldn't even match his grind. Like I could try, but he just had this. He's always been a grinder. He's always been, he's always on his hustle, right? But I've known him for years, man, long, long time, and I've watched him grow up, and he's a, he's always been a dope artist. Now he's just even, he's hit his. I think he's hitting his. He's really coming into himself right now. The music that he's doing with Four Eyes, the Ultra Beast joints. I'm really like, I've heard, songs that he's done in the past, and I listen to those, listen to what he's doing now, and I think that as it's as you get older and you grow, mentally and emotionally, it reflects in your music, like you were saying earlier, and you definitely see the growth, and you can definitely see the growth and the maturity in what he's doing now.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Shout out to him. I met him through Jax from Vinkus. I always remember him hanging around Jax whenever I'd be around, Jax and Flux and Killer. And he was always like Bamboo said, he was always in hustle mode. He was always grinding. He always had some new music. But one thing about it, he just had this personality when he steps in the room, like, who I am. And I love that, especially with him being, just a younger cat at that time. A lot of younger people are kind of timid and kind of play the back, but he fit right in with the OGs, so that's how we look at him. He's just a good individual, incredibly dope MC. Even outside of the music world, like he's had a huge influence. I know he was doing his thing with sneakers and all that, working with Nike and stuff like that. Just a good guy overall.
That's dope. Wow.
He said, I think he moved to LA, right? I think he told you last time we talked, he was moving to LA. So,
oh wow.
So I think he bounced out to the West Coast not too long ago.
Yeah, he just came back.
He came back? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, now speaking on the older music, I just recently moved, so I normally like to, show some of the catalog of the people I'm speaking with. But one of the very first vinyl 12 inches I got from you, Superstition, was Hate My Face.
Okay, yeah.
And I actually got I got doubles because I used to DJ. My uncle got into it, so that was one of the important things I used to try and do, is get doubles of the 12 inches.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the beginning, of a lot of your work that continued to wow me. Like, this guy, he's on it, and you speak on a lot of relatable topics, but at the same time, you got the lyrics that you could just talk about it and spit without it being content driven all the time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Especially like Hate My Face. It's cool to see when people got introduced to me, because I feel like I've had 3 or 4 different careers. I mean, because I take breaks in between. I know some people that know me from 7 years of Bad Luck. Some people know me from the Chain Letters era. Some people know me like way after that. Now they're just kind of catching on. So it's cool to really hear, just when people found out about me. One thing that I've always, I started out really as a battle MC, but I loved songwriting just as much. And it was a point of time I was a fierce battle MC in North Carolina, but I saw where that would end up. I didn't want to be, and it's no disrespect to him, I didn't want to end up being Supernatural. It was kind of those things where I would battle and freestyle, and that's all people wanted. So, I had to fall back from it because I'd be out doing a song about my mother and somebody's yelling, kick a freestyle. And I'm like, oh, this ain't what we want to do. So, I just focused on becoming just a well-rounded MC and artist. And I also wanted to make sure that my top songs that people know me by aren't songs of me just rapping about rapping. People know me from, people know Hate My Face, but they also know Fountain of Youth and the Williams and things like that. So I feel like that really kind of makes me like a well-rounded artist, and I'm happy about that. So
definitely, yeah. And with you, Bamboo, trying to remember, it might have been before Let's Ride came out that I first started hearing your music. It might have been Family Matters, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But Let's Ride definitely stands out. And at the time, it said the Asiatic on there, so I wasn't sure if it was the same person until I heard your voice on the.
He tried to change his name. We was like, nah, what are you doing? Learn from me. Don't ever change your name, dog.
Yeah,
that's what I was telling him. He was like, I'm gonna change my name. I'm like, bro, listen to me. I went by Cam Moore. It didn't work out well, man. Keep your name, bro.
Yeah, you're trying to do something aliases and stuff. But yeah, that EP was that was something that I was put that one out after Family Matters. Let's Ride joint was one of my favorite beats on that album, and man, Dave up in New York from Psyche O laid the cuts on that joint. So big him up, and that one was John Doe was on there laying cuts on one of the songs. I can't remember the name of the song now. It's nothing off the tip of my tongue, but Sticks and Stones. So that was probably the in my opinion, probably one of the best songs on the EP. I don't know what people's opinions are. Personally, it was like a really good, one of my favorites too. And the hook part, I actually did the throw your hands in the air, and I threw, and recorded it, threw a bunch of effects on it, and made it sound like it wasn't me. So that way it sounded like it was like some sample, you know what I'm saying? But it was just it was me, playing around with the effects on the in the mix. But yeah, that album was, that one was that EP was pretty dope. I felt it was a little bit slept on, but at the end of the day, I wasn't really out and about doing shows and then putting out music back to back to back to back. So it wasn't out on like my hustle and grind on music. So it was fine, but it still got some, it still got some love, and I still see, I still get compliments on the songs on that album now.
Yeah, definitely. One of my favorites is Love Leads.
Oh yeah, that was I remember that one. That was kind of a trap beat, sort of.
Yeah.
And I don't really do trap, right? But I can do. I like the 808s. Like I'm not from Georgia. But I came to Georgia when I was young enough to really appreciate bass, right? So back in the 89, 90, it was like DJ Magic Mike, and the Edward J bass tapes. I was all about the bass.
Wow.
I remember I had this little speaker, and the little ports on the speaker. I had it in my room. My bed was on a stand, so I cut a little hole in the thing to put the bass port in there, so that when it hit, it like echoed and made the bass even louder. So I've always been an 808 fan. I love bass, like Kilo, all that. I grew up throughout the whole era. So I like the my production. I mix it up. It's not all. I still consider it boom bap because I don't really get into like the I don't really try to break it down and do I try to give it that boom bap feel, even if it's going to be some sort of a trap sound a little bit. I like that double time flow too, and like that kind of thing. And I like to mix it up a little bit. But yeah, that Love Leads joint. I think it came out. It was right the last verse, like this song was done, and then something happened. There was like a shooting at a mall or something somewhere. I can't even remember. It happened. There's so many shootings nowadays. Can't even pinpoint which one it was. But it's sad. It's sad to say that.
Man.
The truth, though, is like, you know. And then, you know, that last verse, I had to write that last verse. Like that last verse was a late add to that particular track.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of in the same vein as that KRS-One joint. Remember that you know, that one joint he did back in the day? What was it called? It was one. I can't remember the name of it. But it was in the same vein as that one. You know, be careful what you say you love. You know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, love's gonna get you.
Love's gonna get you.
There it is.
There you go.
I love that. I remember that beat in my head. It's crazy because you talk about the 808s and the bass.
Yeah.
Back then, that was one of those songs where people used to ride around and just doom 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 doom. But it was different for KRS-One, but it was still knocking. So
it's still knocking, yeah. And it's funny you bring that up because my father, growing up, is a big KRS-One and Public Enemy fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my pops was the type to go and put a system in his car, and that was one of the albums that he used to bump back in the day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that was you know, I was telling somebody recently that you know, we used to have, you know, because we didn't have as much music as we have now, so we would just, you know, music would be our soundtrack for a summer. And you know, whether it's KRS-One album or whatever, we'd ride around playing it, and we rolled the windows down because we wanted everybody to know that we're playing it. Or if they didn't know it, we were like, I'm about to put you up on it. And you would love when somebody would be like, yo, what are you playing? What's that joint? You know, that was like the highest compliment that you could get or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I do remember that. That's what I love about our era of music. We played it he had one album. We played for like 3-4 months. We knew every word. You know what I mean? The sequencing of the album, everything. So
yeah. Playing the tapes till the tape popped, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. And one, you know, a key point in the reclamation that brought me back to, I believe it's your debut, Bamboo. It's Inspiration EP. Was that your debut?
That was the debut after Collective Efforts. After Collective Efforts kind of late, you know, stopped for a second. That was the debut of the Inspiration album. Was the first EP I put out solo by myself. And since before Collective Efforts, when I did the did the joint with Mafioso back in '99.
Okay. Yeah, because like I was saying before, it was either Family Matters or the Let's Ride that might have been when I first heard you. But after I discovered your music, you know, I saw what your back catalog was and started listening to that. But when your new album came out, it reminded me of the Inspiration EP because of the DJs. And that was important on the new album, and it was important when you released that as well. You know, tell us how, you know, it is for actually both of you to maintain having a DJ be part of the music and not just for a mixtape or a radio show.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been a fan. I mean, like, I give you a little history, you know, back in, you know, when I came on the scene in Atlanta, you know, my crew was a DJ crew. I met Mafioso from Binkus. I met him. He was a senior in high school and I was like a couple years out of high school, and he was DJing, and you know, we kind of, you know, he rolled with us, and you know, we did a lot of like hip hop reggae type of gigs. We did a lot of hip hop reggae shows. So that, you know, it's just natural to me. I think it's hip hop. You know, at the end of the day, hip hop wouldn't be here without the DJ to begin with. You know, really, it all started with the DJ, and then the MCs came, and then the B-boys. You know, it was like, or not exactly in that order, but it was like without the DJ, you know, we wouldn't be here having this discussion, you know, right now. But I always like the element of the cuts, you know, just like and you know, and my go-to people always is John Doe and Mafioso. You know, they always come through. My man Doug Book came through on this album. You know, and these are all people that I have history with. You know, it's not like I just called them up and, you know, and I just met them yesterday. These are all people I grew up with. And but I always like that element, man. It's like this not overdoing it, but it adds something to the music, man. It just feels natural. It's just hip hop, right? It's hip hop, and it's I want to display it in all its forms and all its glory.
Yeah, for me, DJing is really what got me into hip hop. I used to just mess around on my parents' turntable. My mom was like, "Yo, you gonna break my needle? Gonna break the turntable, scratch my needle." So it's like one of the one of the main groups that I got into initially was Run DMC. And I always tell people that, I respect who came before them, like the Melly Bells and things like that. But I wasn't into it as a young kid because they dressed how disco singers dressed, and the artists that my parents and my aunts and uncles used to listen to. But when I saw Run DMC, they dressed like the people on my block. And so seeing Run DMC, the coolest one in the group to me when I first saw him was Jam Master Jay. And so he would just, he would scratch and, he wouldn't say much. Then I remember going to parties and I would just be blown away at just the DJ. And then it kind of turned into turntablism. I would watch DMC battles and things like that. So I've always done my best to every project I have to have a dope DJ scratching on it. Because for me, I remember those albums where, even a Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince or Eric B and Rakim, they always had one track dedicated to the DJ. And whether the DJ was just scratching or just doing his thing, even Big Daddy Kane, you know what I mean? So turntablism and DJing has always been important to me. So, and then Primo evolved with the scratch hooks rather than just scratching. It came with the scratch hooks and, they're making full sentences and entire hooks out of different ones. So I love the way that it's evolved, and I always try to give DJs shine on any of my albums. And what I always make sure is I credit the DJs as a feature artist on the songs because they are adding to that song. A lot of guys like you'll hear DJ scratching on it, you won't even know who did it. And I'm like, you've got to put the DJ there. Whatever DJ, I don't care if it's just a little jigger. Like, you got to show love to the DJ. So almost any album you can listen to of mine has DJ scratching on it. I used to tour with DJs Faust and Shorty, and DJ Faust, I think he was the first DJ to actually put out a full album of just turntablism and things like that. So, I've always loved just DJs in general and just a really dope DJ,
Definitely. And I gotta give a big shout out to DJ Robert Smith for what he did on the Sacrifice EP. Man.
Clean.
Yo, Robert Smith. I actually discovered it. Well, I didn't discover him. He was already known. But I found out about him on Instagram, just the algorithms. And one day, I would always see, the thing was like when I see DJs doing practice scratches, they're always scratching the same scratch, whether it's the fresh sound or whatever. But then I saw Robert Smith. Yeah, it's like fresh. I was like, all right. I saw Robert Smith. He was doing his cuts were so crispy and precise, like DJ Revolution type of scratching. And my mind was blown, and I reached out to him and found out that, he was a fan of my music and things like that. And the dude is incredible, man. Like, if you can hear we've got some tracks coming out, and especially on like a project that I'm doing, I'll release later in the year. I just let loose on it. Some people say, "Oh, it's too much scratching." To me, it ain't no such thing as too much scratching if it's good. You know what I mean? So, shout out to DJ Robert Smith, man. He's incredibly dope. My man Shy, the Beat Yoda Shiloh, he's insane. He does a lot of scratches on Marco Polo's album and things like that. It's some really, really dope DJs out there, man.
Yeah, definitely. And that was about 3 years ago when that EP came out. Yeah.
That was I had taken a hiatus. I usually take like 2-3 years in between albums, but that was kind of like a reintroduction for me, and things have really just been moving up ever since the Sacrifice EP. That's why I say I feel like I have 3 or 4 different careers, or I'll step away and come back and we're like, wow, people still think I'm dope. Like I'm just humbled,
Yeah, dope. And with your catalog, even with that hiatus, was before that was Gold Standard, right?
Right.
Just before that, yeah. I mean, no matter what your hiatus is, your quality of work always speaks for itself.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
There's a lot of artists out there, they use that excuse when it's lackluster, when they come out with something. But having an artist like you continuously doing something, no matter what time has passed by.
I appreciate that. One of the things I had to learn, and I had a discussion with somebody else, is you do have artists now, especially a lot of the younger artists, they literally drop albums, 2-3 albums a year, 4 albums a year, or anytime they can, which, they have to kind of keep up with just social media and how fast things move. I need time to live in between albums. If I'm dropping albums every year, it almost feels like I'm just manufacturing albums. I'm not, especially if you're making albums about substance and things that you're going through. Like I said, you need time to experience things. If I'm just rapping and just rapping, or I'm rapping about guns and dope and things like, you can do that every day, but it's like we're rapping about things of substance and heavy content, and we're rapping about the times and things that are going through. So, for me, even a song concept, it has to be well thought out, so that's why it takes so long. And sometimes, just to be honest, I'm not 20 no more. Sometimes I just don't feel like rapping.
Try is like, forget it, I'm going to bed.
Right, exactly. I might feel like rapping, and then I hear my kids throwing up, and I'm like, oh man, there goes my inspiration. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a real life,
Now, you said that Tokyo Drifting was the first track that you created for this album, but I noticed that it wasn't the first video. It was the second video. What was your decision to have Return to the Asiatic be the first video?
So we actually reached out to our little crew of people, like, with John Doe, Eddie Meeks, Pocket. We reached out to everybody in my man Oxygen, and we just asked their opinion. I had the album pretty much mixed. So we sent out the whole album to them, and I'm like, just let me know what your feedback is. What do you think the first single should be? What tracks do you like the most? Which ones you think should be on the album, shouldn't be on the album? And that one came back from everybody is like Return to the Asiatic was like, they were like, yeah, that's got to be the first single. Yeah. And going back to the DJs, you got to listen to the DJ. Especially with Meek and Doe with Southern Vanguard. That that's what they do. It's like they break new music all the time, every week, and this is the one. I'm like, and it's good to have that feedback, because as an artist, it's a great song. I love it, but it wasn't my favorite track on the album. I was going to release something else, but it wouldn't pop. Like, you got to listen to your family when they tell you. That's how Return to the Asiatic became the first single.
Yeah, and I even when I created that track, I made the beat and sent the track to him with the hook already on it. And I always tell him it reminded me not so much of the same vibe, but it reminded me of Wow for the Night. Like, the first time I heard Wow for the Night, you've got Rampage killing it, but you've got that hook that it goes back to every time. Or a lot of times, especially back in the 90s, when you had even a more known artist introducing kind of a artist that people didn't know as much, you always had that presence up there. Like, first time I heard Diamond Shell, Oh What a Night, like, I probably wouldn't have paid attention to it if Biz Markie wasn't on the hook. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those type of tracks where, I wanted to basically like reintroduce him. Even like, just the fact that I'm on the song talking about, it's time to come back and do it again. Just letting people know, like, hey, this isn't a new artist or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of a reintroduction. I just thought, that was the perfect track. And like he said, we sent it out to our homies. And, you can play an album, but certain songs just make people's ears perk up and, they pay attention. it's got that bounce to it too. You know what I mean? Which is missing.
Yeah, I can hear that when eventually get back out and start going to, out to the club, but out to those shows and stuff. Hopefully I hear that joint in the club sometime.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That bass line. Whoo. And Pocket, big ups to Pocket. Like, listen, I was having a hard time mixing that song. I was having a hard time mixing that song. And Pocket told me, he gave me a little secret on how to get that, how to separate the highs and the lows a little bit on the sample.
Mm-hmm.
And that set it off. That bass line wasn't sounding like that off the mix that was gonna go until Pocket gave me the suggestion. I remixed it, got down and really got into it, and then the bass line sounds like that. So that's Pocket right there. That's
I hear people a lot of times too say, "Yo, the bass line on that song is crazy." So it's like I can't take too much credit. I just feel it's not like I played some funky bass line. I just beat miners type of filtered that joint and kicked it up a little bit,
Yeah. Now, before I speak on my favorite tracks on here, I gotta say, like I was saying in the beginning, this is what I feel is grown folks hip hop music, and both of you have matured as your career has gone on. You now both have families, and it's a reflection in the music. It's also a teaching tool for people like me. People might be a little bit younger than me, coming of age. They start to get a little insight into certain matters that you speak of. And at some point in their life, it might be one of those key songs that sticks with them for the rest of their life. How does that feel, with how you mature with your music, that, at some point it may influence in a positive way for someone?
And that's really, at the end of the day, that's the most I can ask for. That means more to me than, having 10 million streams. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's one thing that I learned with being in collective efforts. A lot of the stuff that we talked about was positive, positive stuff. And we all went, we were honest. Like, the nice thing, the greatest thing about collective efforts is that we were raw and honest on our songs. We didn't hide or pretend to be any certain way. We're going through some stuff, we write about it. It was like really raw, and people felt that energy. And it's like, I wanted to carry, that kind of just stayed with me, through, after I started doing solo projects. And, just like to know that it would help somebody in some way, shape or form, whether it's just to get through something or help them, understand the situation. Man, that's more than I could ask for, honestly. That would be the biggest compliment.
Yeah. And I think, songs with substance and songs with content last a lot longer. And that's just with the history of music. If you look at, the Marvin Gayes and Donny Hathaways and stuff like that. They had their jams. They had their ones where, just dance and have a good time. But the ones that really resonate with people and stick with them are the what's going on and different joints like that or whatever. Like, it just with the history of music, man, it's just, on days, on a regular day, we need music to kind of get us by. We can't dance Monday through Friday in the car, nobody's throwing on, like, I know I'm not throwing on no disco jams or anything like that, but, or even when we're going through those old albums, a lot of times we find the ballads or the songs with substance and things like that kind of resonate with us. So that's what I love about this Reclamation album is, he's talking about current events, but he's talking about things that are relevant to people around our age range. Maybe, and I used to worry about that sometimes, like, maybe people won't get it. A lot of times I felt like, even the music that I was making sometimes was too mature. Like, in my 20s, I was talking about things that people my age range wasn't going through because I was a teenage father. So I had to grow up a lot faster. So it's like, I always felt like, just in my head, I'm 10 years older than everybody else and things like that. So even when I came out with 7 Years of Bad Luck, everybody's like, yo, why did he talk about the industry this way? And it's like, because I've been through it. And then 10 years later, those same guys, you know, people are making songs about how bad the industry is, what they're going through with family. And, you know, and it's just like, I just, you know, went through it earlier, but it's good. I'm glad, you know, people are really responding to the Reclamation, man. It's a powerful album. And we knew that. We used to text and call each other like, yo, this is a really, really dope album, man. Like, you can just listen to it all the way through, you know.
Dope. One of my first favorites I want to talk about is Alive with Ben Hameen. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yep. Okay. Yep. Yeah, man. You know, that's one that it catches you, and then listening to it on repeat, and then hearing how you're speaking on it, and then to have him come in singing like that, just everything just came together proper.
Yeah, that when I wrote that verse to that song, to that track, I mean, and I was listening to it, and it just, you know, it had Ben Hameen written all over it. I heard him all over that track, so that's why I reached out to him, and you know, he never disappoints. He never, you know, he's an incredible artist, like all the way around, and he never disappoints. But yeah, that song is really personal. You know, that's I wanted to, you know, that song is really almost like, you know, a lot of times I'm talking to myself, you know, when I'm writing inspirational stuff like that. This helps me mentally get through whatever it is I'm going through at the time. And you know, a lot of that is, you know, a lot of the time is like, I'm not trying to tell you what's good or what you should do in life. I'm talking to myself, you know, give myself, like, just kind of putting my thoughts out aloud on the music and lyric form. You know, so that one, you know, that one actually came from, you know, I can't remember what I was going through at the time, but it's definitely one of those things that just, you know, just came. It's just, the lyrics came naturally. And then when Ben came on it, and he really, really set it off. And I remember when Soup sent that beat, it was like they sent 3 tracks. I think there was that one. It was
Burn Rubber too.
Burning Rubber, yeah. That one, Burning Rubber, and I think there was one more. I can't remember what the other one was.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the ones that you know, I turned those around pretty quick.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember the beats that I sent, because I have folders where I have my favorite beats and I have my folders that, you know, they're not throwaways, but it's just like, I was like, I don't think I should let anybody hear these joints. So, and that beat, I remember when I made the beat was called Dinner for Two, and I was kind of just messing around with like some R&B vibes or something like that. And I remember, you know, telling Bam, well, I got this beat, I'm not crazy about it, but I'll send it to you or whatever. He's like, yo, just send it to me. And I sent it to him, and, you know, and just what he did with it was amazing, because and I remember the first time hearing that song, this is when I had COVID and I had it pretty bad. And to be able to hear that song alive and hear the lyrics, I told him, I think I text you, I was like, yo, dude, like, this song just like, it hit me right here. You know what I mean? Tears flowing. Like, it was just one of those joints. And to me, it was a special song. To me, you know, it's a perfect song, especially as a producer. You know, a lot of times you make a beat and somebody could go somewhere else with it and it could still turn out dope. But what I heard them do over that beat was like, yo, I couldn't have asked for more. Just Bamboo and Ben Hameen, like, I don't even want to say they murdered it, because it's such a powerful song. It's just like, yo, like they brought everything home with it, man. You know, and I was kind of kicking myself in the ass because I was like, man, I could have rapped to this beat. He's got so many joints that I sent over to him, and I always tell him, yo, I can't do nothing with this beat. I can't rap to it. And he'll send it back, and I'm just like, that's what I was supposed to do with it, man. So.
Yeah, man. Thanks. I appreciate that. So appreciate that. Yeah, that's a special joint, man. I like that one.
Definitely.
And as you brought up while you were talking about this track, you said one of the other tracks that you sent over was Burning Rubber, and I was saying that's another one of my favorite tracks.
Wow.
And on there, Bamboo, you said something that hit home for me right now, because I proposed to my girlfriend in December, and
Congrats.
you mentioned about
Congratulations, man.
thank you.
Congratulations.
You mentioned about your girl steering you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I see how yeah, exactly.
You don't really realize it. Like when you're single and you're running around, people say, behind every good man is a good woman. You don't really realize it, and you get married, and luck. I feel like I'm lucky, because my wife is amazing, and you need that partner in your life, kick you in the ass sometimes. It's like get you going the right direction. Keeping you focused, because we're men, we're like big kids. We still play with toys. They're just more expensive now as we get older, right? But it's like men don't mature as quickly as women do. And it's good to have my wife keeps me on the path. So always try to shout her out every once in a while in a song.
Yeah, I wouldn't even. I don't know where I would be without my wife. And we've been together over 20 years. She's been with me when I had absolutely nothing. Believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. She helped. I remember just telling her I used to drive like 2 or 3 hours to get to a studio. And she was like, well, what do you need? Why do you keep driving this far? Why don't you just buy it yourself? And I was like, well, I don't know how to use it. And she's always one of those ones that encouraged me to do everything. If I didn't know how to take photos, why don't you go out and practice, or graphic design, or making beats and things like that. And so, like I said, she stuck with me when I had a beat up Dodge Neon, you know what I'm saying? And just to come full circle, like I bought her a car yesterday. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those beautiful things, man. Couldn't do this without the ladies, and our wives are super cool with each other. They love each other too. They kind of, they got the same vibe and everything too. So it's good when you got like your whole family can hang out. But yeah, congrats to you on, just your engagement, man. People always ask what's the secret. Ain't no secret, man. It's like a car. Like it's like you got to keep maintaining small problems and keep fixing them, because one day you're gonna be stuck on the side of the road with too many problems to fix. So just keep working at it, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And I'm gonna mention 2 on my favorites before I ask you what are your favorites. My third one, Rise Up.
Yeah.
Tell us how that one came to be.
The Soup sent me the beat. He was like, this is kind of different. He's like, you check it out. It's just like nonchalantly. I was like, and I heard the beat. I was like, oh man. Right.
I made the beat because I did a remix of Nas's "Life's a Bitch," and I could send that to you, Bam. But it was like "Life's a Bitch" and then you die. That's why I did a remix of it, because there was this thing called Session In. Well, it still is. My man Slot Funk Dust, where producers get up and just play beats online and things like that. And so I was doing a beat set, and I needed like a remix. So I made it to that Life's a Bitch beat, and I remember playing it, and people losing their mind, like, man, what is this? And so, I played it for Bamboo. I wasn't sure if he was gonna like it or not. He was like, yo, this beat is crazy. So he did a version to it that was real dope. I think he had a hook on it. I like everything except for the hook. I was like, I said, let me add a hook. I think I know what I want to do with this. And then I sent it back, and it was good, man. It's one of those standout joints, man. Definitely one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah, it is definitely one of them. And it's like that beat just rides, man. It's like that beat just rocks, dude. It's not much more you can say about it. It's like it comes on from beginning to end. It's just a really dope track. Really dope.
It's funny too, because being that we're both in Atlanta, when I first made that beat, I do remember driving to the city of Atlanta. I was just in the city and playing that beat while just passing like downtown Atlanta, and then the fact that you call the song "Rise Up," which is kind of like with the Falcons and all that, man. So it all comes full circle, man. I was thinking about that the other day, man. That's dope.
Yeah, that's a I love that. That's one of my favorites. Yeah. All my children on the album are my favorites. That one stands out though. That's like the A student right there. It does everything right.
See, that's how you look at them. Some of like the beats that I sent over, I didn't like the beats at first. So it's like you took the kids I didn't really want and raised them into grown men and women. You raised them into great women and men, and I'm proud of you because I'm like, man, some of these I wasn't sure about. But then when I heard them do the songs, I'm like, oh man, these really have potential. So
that's a great way to explain that one. All right, I'm gonna give you one more of my favorites, and that's "Light It Up" with DJ John Doe, Southern Vanguard, Dochino.
Yeah,
yeah. I remember that song. That was the Christmas beat.
Yeah,
that's another one I hijacked. I hijacked that one too, but I called him before I hijacked it this time. You know, he sent it over. It's like, yo, Christmas beat. I'm like, oh, this is dope. And then I'm just riding to work one day, listening to the track, and I'm just like, it's like hit me like an epiphany. I know what I want to do with this. Let me call Soup real quick. Hey man, you do anything to this track? That Christmas beat? It's like, nah, man, not really. I'm like, okay, I got something for it.
Yeah. In my head, I'm just like, why is he asking me about this Christmas beat? Like it's because but the average person doesn't know it's sampling a Christmas song or whatever. But you know what? I love what he did with it. I think you had like 3 different hooks on it. Every time he had a different hook, and then he finally found just the right one and everything. But I love it because "Light It Up" is outside of even just the concept. I was listening to just the lyrics and how his cadence is, and kind of just I'm like, for me with rhyming, I feel like it's complex. You've got rhymes inside of rhymes, and I listen to like certain cadences, and to me, that's one of the songs I play. If I need to convince somebody that Bambu's dope, I'll play that song, and I'm like, hey, what do you think? You know what I'm saying? And I've sent that out to certain people. They were like, yo, your man's dope. Like, so it's just one of those ones, man. It's definitely one of those ones. And he floats on that beat, man.
Yeah, I want to do a video for that one, but it's hard.
I got a corporate job. I can't be.
I got a corporate job. It's like people might know me, I'm at a conference and they're like, yo, did you do this song? Is this you? It's like, so
yeah. Look,
it's happened before, so I got to be careful.
Be in there like how Q-Tip was on the Hot Sex on the Platter video with a mask on. I got a corporate job. I can't be in no video smoking weed.
Yeah. But it's like, my job is cool. Like, I'm a proponent of legalizing marijuana. It's just, and my boss knows that. It's like, I've known my boss for about 12 years. I've known him. I've worked with him a long time, so he knows me. Mm-hmm. But I still don't want to. I don't know if that would be, a good thing or a bad thing. I don't. But at the end of the day, I like that song. I wanted to be the new anthem. I had it in my mind like, this is the new Cypress Hill song. This is the new I want to get high. Like back in the day, like, this is gonna be the new song. It's gonna be it. That's all I can think about. You
don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the weed guy, because no matter what song,
that's what's
got
gonna
all this
stay
substance
with you
on it. Every album, they're gonna want a weed song from you.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's Cypress Hill had to do one on every album.
Every album, bro.
Yeah, they actually, speaking of Cypress Hill, they actually supposed to be having an album come out this year, produced entirely by Black Milk.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be crazy, man.
That's
they recently released the second track this year, and the first track came out last year.
Well, I didn't hear that. That's crazy. Black Milk and Cypress Hill.
I'll send you the links for those.
Yeah,
Black Milk's one of those guys too, where I wish he would do more production for like other people. You know what I'm saying? Like he's insane. Drums, bass, like he's got it all, man. Even down to his albums and rhyming, he's a dope MC as well, man. And
when he first came out, man, I was blown away. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yes.
We just sit around and talk about how dope his album was, beats and the lyrics and everything.
Yeah, when I look at because just me doing production and stuff, I always look to like a Black Milk or Odyssey or people like that, because I'm like, those guys, to me, they're equally dope at, Odyssey's just as dope at rhyming as he is for doing production. So I always look to those guys for inspiration, because I felt like they've done it right. You know, there's some artists I feel that produce themselves, and I'm just like, nah, you probably better off with your own producing. But you know, it's some ones that I just really look up to, and I think they do it right, and that's kind of what I aspire to be. And Bamboo makes, you know, he makes beats as well too, and I know he can say the same thing. You just want to be as dope as you are as an MC, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I like about Black Milk is during his come up and where he is now, you can tell that he's evolved his sound and it's expanded so much. Even in his rhyming, was, I wouldn't call it simplistic, but it expanded the same way his production did.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like that opened doors for him to other things.
Yeah, I like where he's evolved, because I think when he first came out, there was so many Dilla comparisons. People couldn't get past it because he's from Detroit, and you know what I mean. Yep. Just he had the drums and things like that. But you know, but he was young. But he's kind of evolved into his own sound, and he's making a lot of great music. So shout out to Black Milk, man.
Yeah, I actually got to see him perform in New York twice.
Yeah.
I think the first time was when they released Random Acts with rest in peace Sean Price and Guilty Simpson, and the second time was around the time that Fat Beats was about to close, when they had like the whole week of just people coming up and performing and DJing. He was up there. Right.
Yeah. That's I remember those the end of Fat Beats days, because my manager Sav One, he actually used to work at Fat Beats, so shout out to Sav and Eclipse, man. And I remember seeing those videos of everybody coming up throughout the week, freestyling, and just, you know, Fat Beats is just a wonderful place, man.
Yeah, it was great energy that whole week, you know. Yeah. And then everybody, for people that couldn't even get in on certain days, like I think it was like 2 days in a row, I was able to get inside. But the last time, I think it was the second to last day, I wasn't able to get in. It was just people outside, just, you know, enjoying the music coming out from the windows and everything. There was ciphers outside, you know, just hip hop, you know. That was great.
And Percy P outside. That was a staple. Whenever I went to Fat Beats, Percy P was always outside hustling CDs.
Yeah, definitely. Now tell us each, for both of you, tell us one of your favorite tracks on the new album.
My personal favorite is Unstoppable. That one's that's one of my favorite tracks. I just like the beat, the energy. It's like, it's like, I felt like, you know, that song, you know, I felt like I came, you know, lyrically, it was, I mean, all the way around, the whole track was dope. The lyric, the song and all, it was just just dope. It's one of my favorite tracks. I just like the energy. I like that hard, you know, that hard energy, and that, you know, I was able to kind of just really get into that track because it was an aggressive beat. So I was able to get aggressive on that track. So, you know, and I like that. It goes back to my old days, you know, when I used to rhyme, you know, and really, you know, jump on those aggressive beats. I just kind of like, I would just kind of, you know, steer towards those aggressive tracks. You know, the drums, it's just like, it sounds hard, you know, and I just like it, man. It's like, to me, I think that's, you know, to me, that's my favorite track.
Yeah. My favorite track is Let It Go. Because Let It Go to me personifies hip hop. It's got the heavy bass line, it's got the drums. It starts out with John Doe scratching going off, and then Bamboo's voice fits perfectly over that beat. Like, it's just it's one of those tracks, when I play it, I'll get like to the first 10 seconds and I'll just run it right back, kind of like a DJ. You know, I always, every time I hear that song, I don't care. Anytime I hear it, I take it all the way back from the top, man. So to me, it's an incredible song. Let It Go, and of course, Alive and Rise Up. They're my favorite ones. But Let It Go is my favorite, man. The DJ wins every time with me.
Now, in between Tokyo Drifting and Rise Up, we have the Reclamation Sermon, which I feel it fits the album, but I feel that it was placed in the right spot of the album?
It was actually supposed to, when Server came through, he was supposed to just do an intro to Rise Up. And I didn't say, hey, you only got, 8 bars to do the intro. I didn't say, you got to make it quick. I just said, I don't like to box people in, right? So I was like, I wanted to see what he came up with, because I've always wanted him to speak on one of my albums, or speak on a song, on a track, whatever it was. I always wanted to involve him, because he's so much. He's like a walking hip hop history book, and he, just knowing him connects you with so much history in hip hop, because he just grew up in it, and it's like you sit there and talk to him, and it's things that I didn't know that he'll be talking about. It just blows my mind. But he's always like got this really like positive energy, and I wanted him on the song, so he came over, and he did the sermon, and I was like, you know what, that's just too long for an intro for Rise Up. I'm like, but I'm not going to cut it, because everything he said in there was heartfelt. So I sent it to Soup, and I was like, yo, man, can you find you put a beat behind this or something? And he sent it back with the track. So what do you think about this? And I was like, that's it.
Yeah, because he sent it to me with just raw vocals, and it was a sermon. You know what I mean? And I sat and listened to the entire sermon from Minister Serve, and I was just like, I knew immediately what to do. I had a beat that was an interlude that, I wanted something that sounded kind of triumphant, something that kind of highlights it. And I mean, I literally pulled up the beat, played the sermon, and everything just fell into place. And then I sent it back to Bamboo. I was like, yo, check this out. And he's like, yeah, that's the one, man. Like, it's powerful, man. Some days I listen to that when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
It's like, Eric Thomas, E.T. the hip hop preacher. It's just he's got that voice, and it's got that feeling to get you up and get you inspired.
Yeah, and I felt like that was perfect for the album, because it touched on a lot of things that we're going through currently, right? It's and I'm always about trying to inspire people, and inspire myself, and in turn inspire other people, and that's just that sermon fit perfect. It was amazing. It was just perfect. I think he dropped it. It took 2 takes. He did 2 takes. He went all the way through the first time, but the second time was the take. That was the one. So.
Bamboo, I gotta ask you a question about your name. Is it spaced? Is it BambuDeAsiatic? Because sometimes I see it all together, and sometimes it's separate.
I just asked him that too. I was like, yo, is this one word, bro? And I've been knowing it forever. I'm like, yo.
So when I tag it, I don't space it. Okay. Like if you look at the Inspiration album, that tag, that's my tag, right? So I don't space it. I just capitalize the D and capitalize the A. When I reach out and have like Mill do something, I just let him do what he does to make it look dope. So on the album cover, it's spaced, right? But when I tag it out, when I write it out, I don't space it. There's no spaces.
All right.
I'm glad you cleared that up, because I just asked that too. I was
like, wait, man, because on the cover
it's 3 words, and then of course social media handles, I see it all as one, but that's you can't put spaces in that. And then I saw it on the Bandcamp, but I'm like, to me, he's been Bamboo to me, so I'm like, wait, is this all supposed to be one word, man? So
glad I asked.
Yeah. So it's like back in the days, when we had phone booths. You see my tag all over Atlanta. You see it all over in every street. Edgewood, Auburn, Spring. Yeah. Memorial Drive. It doesn't matter. I was all over it.
I don't know if you had this, but I had somebody ask me. I guess they thought it was all one word, and I don't know if they was like, the album you did for BambuDeAsiatic or something. I was like, who? I was like, Bamboo.
See, now you know why. Now you understand why I'm like, maybe I'll just go by the Asiatic. It's just a whole lot simpler. It's like less confusing. It's a lot simpler. You know what I'm saying? It's like the Asiatic, and it's like, that was my maybe the next album's gonna be the Asiatic, formerly BambuDeAsiatic.
My man said, yo, BambuDeAsiatic. I was like, yo, what? I don't know what school system he's from, but I was like, yeah, that's not his name, fam. Like,
That's funny.
Oh man. Now for a new listener to both of you, when they listen to this album, what's one of the tracks that you would definitely say, if for Superstition, this is the type of production I want you to hear from me, and for Bamboo, this is a track that I want you to hear me rhyming over. What would those tracks be?
Man, for production, like I said, Let It Go, Light It Up, Rise Up. I just felt like, those three, just the dynamic of those three tracks. It's like, look, we can do boom bap stuff. Rise Up has the beat is so it's just big and dynamic that I felt like you can hear, like you said, you can hear a Nas over that or whoever on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just not making just dirty hip hop that sounds like it's unfinished. Like, we've got some well-polished tracks, well-polished production, and some great songs or whatever. So I think, those three tracks just really embody what we're doing, especially for production and, in my opinion, and lyrics and things like that. We could take the best songs off of this. We could take 6 of our favorite best songs off of this and make, put it as an EP, and I would put it up against damn near anybody's EP. That's how, how confident I am over the stuff that we've done on this.
Yeah. Besides those 3, I think one that, that I think that we don't really talk about that much is the last song that I'm Thankful.
Thankful.
Yeah. That the beat itself, like by itself, I mean, it's it's different. It was, when Soup made the beat, he told me, he was like, it's just kind of, he just say he does it with every beat. He's like, it's okay. You can just, because every
Hey,
time
look, I'm underselling it because I feel like you'd be like, man, what is this shit, man? Like, that beat, I said, I got this beat. It's kind of happy, like, probably be some Black Eyed Peas type shit. I just made it because I didn't want to make some grimy stuff. I'll send it to you, but I downplayed the hell out of it. I put the disclaimer up there.
Yep.
So if he say he wasn't feeling it, I'd be like, yo, I tried to tell you. And then when I played it for him. He's like, yo, you crazy. This is dope. I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah, we were in the car going to Pocket Script, weren't we?
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
He played it in the car. Yeah. And I was like, I can do something to that. Like, I can rock with that. But I just like that beat. And then, and that song, it didn't require, like, it's a song. Like, I didn't go at it like, I'm gonna write the best lyrics and my flow's gonna be blah, 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 blah. I just wanted to write it. I just wanted to ride that joint. And that's all that song, that track required was just ride the pocket. And that, and the song kind of, that particular, like the first verse, it really touched me, that when we heard that beat, it was at a time when a friend of mine had passed, and it was during the beginning of COVID. He didn't die of COVID, but it was like, it was like our OG of the crew, of our Murder One crew. And, rest in peace, Apache. And we couldn't get together and celebrate his life. When we tried to do something at a park, it rained and it got canceled. So we never really, it was like that first verse was like, when he was in the hospital, it's like your boy, like, he'll be better. He'll be all right. You check with, hey man, you doing all right? All right, cool. Didn't respond. I might be sleeping, whatever. But it's just like that verse is very personal. That song is very personal. And it's and I always like the beat, and it just brought out, that song to me is a personal song, and I think it's one of the tracks that gets slept on at the that I feel like don't get mentioned as much as some of the other tracks, but I think it's a great song.
Yeah, I think you turned it into an amazing song. To me, I still look at it the same. It's like that beat to me was, how you try to introduce your homie to, like, I got this girl, she want to meet you now. She's not that cute, but she got a great personality. You might like her. That's that beat to me. But like I said, you took it at, a lot of these joints, man, I wasn't sure on it because, I'm not a new producer, but I'm more of an MC. So a lot of times I can't hear it. I'll just make it, but I can't hear full songs to him and certain things like that. But I love being able to send it to Bamboo and him turning it into just a great song. And Thankful was like the perfect example of that. Once I heard it, I'm like, this is what's supposed to be done to this song. This is really incredible, you know, and it's become one of my favorite songs on the album too. You know what I mean? Because it's so different from everything else, and it's placed well, like right at the end, the perfect way to close out an album.
Right. And that song is, you know, I give kudos to, like, being in Collective Efforts is, you know, because we in Collective Efforts, it wasn't like we all just used an MPC and that was it. It was like, you know, we had a full band, and, you know, we had a full band that showed. We also had a full band in the studio, like, you know, Matt Weiss would come over with the guitar, you know, Richard would come over with the drums, and, you know, Fredo would come with the keys. So it's like, it was a full, like, it was like a lot of musical elements, live musical elements in there. And we, you know, if you listen to a lot of the Collective Effort stuff, you know, it's not, you know, it's boom bap, but there's other songs in there that are just different. And, you know, being around all that, you know, being able to experience that and be part of that, that really helped my songwriting ability, to be quite honest with you. It helped me to, you know, figure out how to put an album together, how to put a cohesive album together, how to write the songs, and, you know, different, it taught me, like, you don't have to always be like, raw, I'm the dopest MC in the world on every single track. You know, it's like, you know, not every track requires that. And when you're putting an album together, you got to think about how everything comes together and gels. And, you know, it's like, you know, there's a lot of dope MCs out there. And, you know, that, you know, I don't necessarily want to listen to an MC bragging and boasting on every single song in an album. You know, I want to hear, you know, I like to hear that, the different, you know, different depths of what they can do. That besides just telling you that they're the best MC ever, or rapping about, at least say rapping about rap, right? Because it's easy to rap about rap. You can just I can write a whole album rapping about rap. But, you know, I think that, you know, we all know we can do it, and we do it on the album, and it's on this album, you know. But I think, you know, it was we made a conscious effort to kind of make it more well-rounded, you know, add the substance and the flavor to it and the experience of life, and, you know, hopefully, you know, people enjoy it. Hopefully somebody takes one of the songs and it helps them through something, you know, helps them get through something. If it's just helps them get through Atlanta traffic, or, you know, or LA traffic, or wherever you're at, right? But, you know, at the end of the day, I wanted to make music that, you know, I want to make music that people enjoy, that can, you know, that will last a lifetime.
Yeah.
Not, you know, not timeless music, I guess, not really date the music, you know, sound so dated in a sense. And I felt like this, you know, the production was really, really dope, and production is timeless, and I tried to match that with lyrics that were timeless as well.
Well said. And such a great effort for an album. And maybe one day that son of yours who picked up on the piano might be on your next project.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Like, both of my boys been playing piano, and then my youngest wants to play drums, so I'm gonna end up getting a drum set sometime this year. Yeah. And we get an electric drum set first, you know what I'm saying? So you put the headphones on. But you know, that's funny, like, he worked that out himself. And he's still been playing with it. I'm about to do a follow-up video, and I'm gonna have my youngest playing the drums on the machine over here. And you know, my oldest is playing the piano. He worked some transitions out. Like, he made up some transitions on that. So I'm like, it's gonna be, you know, he's surprising me. He's surprising me. Both these boys, they surprise me. They like music. They're always in here trying to, you know, jump in the booth. And, you know, I'll make a beat and I'll let them just have fun with it. You know, I just want them to enjoy it and have a good time. You know,
that's great.
If there's something they want to do later on, let them do it. You know, I'm still trying to push them to go to college, because, you know, and do the right thing, and, you know, get that base down.
Okay.
But, you know, maybe they'll go to college and then, you know, become a famous musician anyway. Who knows?
Yeah, I was impressed, you know, especially because I remember when you bought, you know, you bought the keyboard for the house.
Yeah.
And you walk in and I see it. I'm like, hey, the boys messing around. It's like, yeah, they mess around with it. And one day I'm looking and he's playing Dr. Dre. I'm just like, yo, and I went and ran and showed my son Kingston, because they're all friends. And I'm like, look at this. And he's like, how does he know how to play that? I'm like, practice. That's what he does, man. So,
and, you know, it's a Filipino thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like the nurses, accountants, and you're going to play the piano.
Yeah.
You know, you may not play it later in life, but you're gonna, you know, that's the thing. Like, nurture something, you know, learn how to play piano.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Now that's a great way to end a very enjoyable and insightful interview for tonight. Tell the people where they can go and support the reclamation, as well as both of your catalogs, and also go ahead and give you shout outs.
You know, it's on all the streaming platforms, all the big major streaming platforms. If you want to personally support it, you can go to ugsouth.bandcamp.com. And if you, I still got the instrumentals up there. So, you know, I still will, if you buy the album, you get the instrumentals of the album for free. And I'll include that as a bonus. And, you know, I want to shout out everybody out there that supported the album. You know, shout out Ben Armin, you know, all my homies that came on the album. DJ Mafioso, you know what I'm saying? My man Sinister, he was in the Return of the Asiatic video. He came out for that. And shout out John Doe, Meeks, DJ Pocket, Doug Boogie. You know, big up Doug Boogie.
Shout out Doug. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I gotta holler. I ain't talked to him about a month. I gotta holler at him. And just, you know, and you know, just want to say thank you to everybody that supports the album, that's supporting the album, and that has listened to it and give it a spin.
Indeed, man. Yeah, like you said, you know, just thanks to everybody that supported the Reclamation project. It's a special project for both of us. You know, outside of my own records, it's the first album that I've produced. You know, and I enjoy producing it. I don't foresee me doing a lot of producing albums for a lot of other people. So, you know, it's just, you know, this is the homie. We just work well together. You know, we're cool, we're easy to work with, and things like that. You know, just be on the lookout too for, you know, I got a lot of music dropping this year. I usually don't drop a lot of music, but I think this will be the year that, you know, there'll be about 2 or 3 different projects by the end of the year. Just things that I'm working on and stuff like that too. So Supastition, all my stuff is online, all streaming platforms, 100% owned by Supastition. So, you know, it all comes to me. You know, we always say, hey, you know, streaming is cool, but the Bandcamp cha-ching is where it's at, you know.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, and you know, congratulations to Supastition on winning the MPC.
I appreciate
the MPC
that.
won. So
appreciate that
was you know, I'm excited that somebody I know actually won something, you know, in that Marco Polo competition. That was dope.
Yeah, our generation, if it's anything free, I don't care if it's a microphone, a speaker. If it's free, if you can win it, oh, we're jumping in it. You know how it is, man.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I display somebody, why you want an MPC? You've got all this equipment. I'm like, look, if I got a Lexus and I'm walking in the mall and they're doing a Lexus giveaway, guess what? I'm getting in the Lexus giveaway. So that's how I look at equipment. You know, you can never have too much, man.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate
all those Sweetwater sweepstakes.
Exactly.
You know, trying to win all that gear. You know, trying to win all that. I'm like, I ain't even gonna use live gear, but I want it. Give me the live speakers. I want it. I'm not gonna say I have it.
Look, I'm online. Like, I need some new headphones. Do I need to write another 16?
It's hard, man. It's, you know, it's when you go online to buy stuff. I just want to buy all kind of equipment, man. I just actually got to do interface, new microphone. You know, so.
Told you, hey, win it. Your lady can't complain.
Yeah, I know.
That's a good point. Dope, man.
We appreciate the opportunity. It's been a pleasure, you know, being on your platform and being able to speak with you and discuss, you know, our album, man. You know, I truly appreciate it, Bamboo. I know you appreciate it as well too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We, you know, it's nice to have this kind of a platform to you know, to be able to talk about the album, how it came together.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, we really appreciate that, and it's you know, very thankful and humbled that you thought of us well enough to bring us onto your platform to do an interview with us. So thank you.
Absolutely. And as always, you know, we strive on trying to continue to make sure that artists like yourself are known. Continue,
that's all we can ask for, man.
And I'll always try and make an effort, whether it's through the social media or our website, let people know. Let people know what's new that's out there, what artists, that's worth checking for. And the two of you are definitely two of those people. Definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All we got is us, man.
That's it.
Cool. And on behalf of our HHDG media crew, we're going to say peace.
Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all.